Welcome to Sigil Spotlight, and I'm going to be using Oracle cards from Teal Swan's The Blind Spot Oracle card deck, and in a second I'm going to show you two cards from her deck, and I'm going to ask you to select one of them. And this card is going to indicate the blind spot that right now is coming up for you in a situation that you're in. So everybody's situation is going to be different. On each card, you're going to notice that there's a sigil. A sigil is a painted seal or a symbol that was originally painted by hand by Teal when she was in a trance state. So the sigil itself does not represent anything, but it's considered to have a living entity in and of itself. The sigil is incredibly powerful, and it's considered to have actually magical powers, and it will help you to bring awareness to the specific blind spot in your life that you're not aware of right now. So I'm going to ask you right now to take a moment to look at these two sigils that I've selected for you right now. And I want you to look at the cards closely. Now you may say something like to yourself, show me what I do not see, or what is my blind spot right now? I want you to really look closely at these cards, and I want you to allow the card to choose you. So you can pause the video right now to examine the two sigils up on the screen. So when you've selected either sigil 1 or sigil 2, I want you to look in the description box below or the comment section where you're going to find a description for the sigil that you've selected. So if you've selected sigil 1, this is your reading. You've selected card number 47. Which is called Looking to the Outside. And now I'm going to read a short blurb from Teal Swan's guidebook about looking to the outside. If you've drawn the sigil, you are looking to the outside when you should be looking for answers within. It is very likely, if you have drawn the sigil, that you are currently looking to everything else to make a decision or to know what is right. You are being quick to assume that people around you know what you do not know, and you are quick to emulate them as a result. For example, we tend to slow down our speed on the highway if cars ahead of us are slowing down, without knowing why, because we assume that other people do know why. We tend to accept the doctor's diagnosis or advice without seeking a second opinion, or honoring our own intuition about our own bodies because we assume that being a professional means that someone always knows. We tend to buy and wear what celebrities wear and use products celebrities use because we think they have their finger on the pulse of something we don't, and they have things that we want to have. We tend to adopt our parents' values as children because we assume they know better than we do, but in fact, they often tell us so. That is true. So, if you have drawn this sigil, you're being called to march to the beat of your own drum. You are being called to become aware of or heed your own mind and your own feelings and your own sense of knowing, even if it contradicts what other people are thinking, saying, and doing. Stop relying on the cues you are receiving from your environment. You really do know what is highest and best and truth in this scenario, no matter whether or not you have the bravery to admit it. All right, so let's look right now. That is your blind spot. And I'm going to use the Light Seers Tarot deck and the Rider-Waite to look at what's coming up in your shadow that's linked to this blind spot. And then I'm going to ask for guidance from the tarot. So let's start off with the Light Seers deck. And I want one card only for what's coming up in your shadow and what guidance the tarot can give. All right, so one card for what's coming up in your shadow, please. What's coming up in the shadow? One card, please, from tarot. What's coming up? There it is. All right, the Page of Cups in reverse. And what guidance can the tarot give me, please? Got a few here. There it is. Now, Seven of Pentacles in upright. Okay, awesome. Okay, so Let's get some clarifications for what's coming up in the shadow. Clarifications for the Page of Cups. That one wanted to come up is the World card. In reverse, another card, please. One more card for what's coming up in the shadow. The Four of Cups. And clarification for the Seven of Pentacles, please. 2 cards, please. And it looks like I'm getting 4, but I don't want 4. I just want... Here we go. They came flying out for me. Okay, so I got Temperance card and I got the Page of Swords. All right, let's take a look at this. All right, so this is all about looking at on the outside for answers. And what's coming up in your shadow about you looking for the outside for answers for you when guidance comes within. But this is what's coming up for you right now. The Page of Cups is a blind spot. So what don't you see? What's in your shadow? What's in your shadow regarding your blind spot about looking for answers outside of you? So the Page of Cups comes up in reverse, right? And the Page of Cups upright. Pages for me are that childlike part of us. And if you think of children, they're very intuitive. This particular individual, like when you look at this card, it kind of looks ridiculous because he's imagining all these weird things in his head, right? And that's what intuition is all about, because our intuition has our creativity and it allows us to go inwards to find our answers and find out who we really are, and the fact that maybe we can be creative. So this Page of Cups right here is telling us that it wants us to get in touch with our emotions. Wants to, in order to find out who we are, and in order to get to our intuition, we really have to get in touch with our emotions to find out what is really inside of us in our shadow. And so this is coming up in your shadow, but it looks like this particular page right here is blocked. So you have some emotions that are blocked in your shadow. And let's look and see if we can get some clarifications on that. Because the World card here comes in reverse, and the World card for me just kind of says, there's so many infinite possibilities out there for you. When you start going inwards and when you start to find out, who you really are, and finding out your own answers in your own direction rather than relying on everyone else to do, you really start to find out that there is a world of infinite possibilities and answers there for you. And I know that's really hard to accept and hard to believe, because some of us are so used to getting our answers from other people around us, especially if you're a people pleaser too. That can be, you're so used to looking at what everyone else is doing and seeing how you can just keep everybody happy. And so that's all part of this, right? But that's blocked. That's blocked because your intuition is blocked. You have, because these emotions are blocked, you're having a hard time getting at your intuition, because you have to, in order to get to your intuition, you've got to work through a lot of your emotions that are blocked. And I see that the Four of Cups has come in reverse for you for your last card in the shadow. Now, this upright here says you have 3 cups here, and this explains a lot about why your emotions are blocked in your shadow, because you've done some therapy before. Maybe you've felt a lot of pain. You've been on this journey for a bit, or you've been thinking about it to go on it again and start healing again. And these 3 cups right here, this individual is looking at his 3 cups and he says, what, I'm satisfied, those 3 cups. I got my arms crossed. I'm not going in. I don't feel like going any deeper. I don't want to go back to therapy. I'm not saying you have to go back to therapy, but I've been through periods where I've gone into therapy and out and stayed out for a while, and then things got tough again, and I got to go back into therapy, and I'd go in and out of it with my own shadow work journey. And this particular individual is sitting there, and it's in your shadow that you're kind of stuck about, you know, your emotions are stuck. I can see that there's a big resistance to not going inwards and finding out these answers that you're supposed to find for yourself. One of the things I hated that my own life coach told me was that, you know, all your answers to the questions you have, or the questions you have about yourself, or they're inside of you. And I'm like, what the hell, like, what does that mean now? My answers are inside of me, because there was really a resistance to me to go inwards and find out who the hell I am and find out my own answers, because I was so used to all my life being controlled by other people and relying on other people for my answers. And so when I know this is in reverse, but when this card comes up, this fourth cup right here, you have this individual that's saying, nope, don't want to, you know, I don't need any more cups. I don't need any more emotions. I'm done with my emotions. I'm done with feeling. Well, this fourth cup, the universe is giving you. And if the universe gives you an offer, you take it. And your shadow is saying, you can't refuse an offer. This offer from the universe says, okay, here you go. I'm giving you another offer. I'm giving you another chance to go a little bit deeper now. Just go back into your emotions, go inwards, start going inwards again, and start feeling. But there is a big resistance to it. So it's sitting in your shadow. There's more emotions for you to come up, because, you know, there is this sense of intuition that you can get to, but you got to get to, in order to find your own answers and stop relying on other people's answers or, you know, guidance for you, is you got to start going inwards and start feeling again. But there's resistance to doing that. So what's happening here is the guidance for you from the tarot. Well, it first starts off with this Seven of Pentacles here, you know, and there's this individual right here that has been spending a lot of time and effort and passion, and, you know, in this plant that he's growing. And, you know, maybe you've been spending a lot of time on something. Maybe you've been waiting a long time for some answer to come for you, and you're looking for other people to give you the answer. And it's just, you know, it's not coming. Maybe you're doing certain things, and maybe, you know, this is a pentacle card, so this could be you spending, you know, a lot of time on your work. Maybe, you know, something's going on with your health where you've been spending, I don't know, dedicating a lot of time, a lot of money maybe, to try to figure out, you know, what's going on with you, and kind of looking this. It's interesting because she did talk about, Teal talked about, you know, looking for answers from the outside world as for your medical condition. So, and this is a health card too. So maybe some of you are dealing with some really big health issues right here, and you've really put a lot of your belief systems, you've really put a lot of belief, and you've relied on, you know, doctors. And sometimes, you know, they just can't find out answers for you. And this is not a diss against doctors or the medical profession at all. But sometimes you can continue to go from doctor to doctor to doctor and doctor. And I did the same thing. I went from therapist to therapist to therapist, trying to figure out what was wrong with me, until I found a therapist for me that taught me to go inwards and taught me to find my own answers. And so a lot of times when you can't find answers to your health problems, when you can't find answers to whatever's going on with you right now, the tarot is saying, well, you know, maybe it's time to go inwards. Maybe it's time to go inwards. Maybe it's time to get at some of these, you know, these emotions that you're blocking, that are blocked right here. They're being blocked. And the Temperance card is that, I think, when we're on this journey and things just aren't going the way we want them to go, when we get really frustrated. I mean, that comes up so often. And this temperance card comes up, and I really hate this part of the journey, and it's accepting that sometimes, you know, this whole journey is a process. It takes time. And I think you have to become aware. The tarot is saying, you know, sometimes this takes time. And just that whole process of realizing about, you know, to get to your answers, it takes time, and it's a process. When you start to learn how to ground yourself and learn to go inwards and find out what your answers are. Because the Page of Swords in reverse, and this, you know, I talked about what your answers are, and really it's to find out who you really are. You know, who are you? What are your answers to things? What are your belief systems? There's one big sword here, and swords is all about your mind and your belief systems and what people have told you, right? And these old stories that continue to spin in your head, and that's why you're so used to going and looking for what other people are are telling you, and you just take it in. But this Page of Swords right here, who is the authentic sword, is the one that's going to, you know, cut through all the bullshit. And it's that younger, the page is the younger part of us that's very authentic. Kids are very, very authentic, and kids just know, and they're naturally intuitive, and they're naturally authentic. But this is blocked for you because, you know, you are looking for answers from other people, and that's where you're getting your vision of who you are. But the real you is going to come when you take this cup from the universe and you start to go inwards. And you say, all right, I'm going to start to look at my emotions again. I'm going to start to see, and that's how you get to who you are, by feeling. You can only go through your emotions. You can't bypass them. I mean, bypassing them is, you know, telling yourself, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not feeling. I don't want to feel anymore. And yeah, feeling is difficult, but that is the way to find out, you know, who you really are. Take care. I'll talk to you later. So if you've selected Sigil 2, this is your reading. You've selected number 48, and it's the scarcity card. So let me read the blurb about it in Teal Swan's guidebook. So if you've drawn this sigil, you are falling into scarcity thinking, and it is causing you to think, speak, and act in ways that do not benefit you or other people. It may cause you to make choices that are not the right ones. We are apt to jump on the first offer we get when we are desperate to sell. We take jobs we hate when we need to pay the bills. If our family was poor, we tend to either hoard our money so as to avoid ever being without when we really need it, or we never save our money for the long run because we feel our money will vanish or be taken away if we don't immediately spend it on something that we want. We assume that someone is a better catch when they are taken. We also take people who are a bad catch when we assume that there is a scarcity of good catches out there. If we are desperate for money, we may act totally out of alignment with our integrity and commit a crime in order to get money. If you have drawn this sigil, look at the things you are thinking and saying and doing when you perceive that there is scarcity. If you have drawn this sigil, do anything you can to move into perception of abundance instead of scarcity. If you've drawn this sigil, you have all kinds of perceptions, beliefs, information, valid feelings, and valid experiences that are telling you that scarcity is the reality. But what you do not see is that even if they are valid, they are not currently an accurate reflection of actual reality. All right, so that's the blind spot. That's what's coming up for you that you don't see right now. So what I want to do is look at what's coming up from your shadow that's linked to your blind spot, and then also ask for guidance from the tarot. And I'm going to do this using the Light Seers Tarot and also clarification with the Rider-Waite. So let's start off with Light Seers Tarot, and I'm going to ask the tarot, what's coming up? I want one card only. What's coming up from your shadow that's linked to this blind spot right now? What's coming up from your shadow that's linked to this blind spot of scarcity? And I have the 8 of Wands in reverse. And what guidance can the tarot give you? What guidance can the tarot give you? One card. What guidance can the tarot give you right now? One card for the guidance that the tarot can give you. I have the Wheel, the World card in reverse. The World card in reverse. Okay, and that's clarification. I'm going to ask for 2 cards for the 8 of Wands, please. 2 cards for what's coming up in the shadow for clarification. 2 cards for the 8 of Wands for clarification. 2 cards, please, for clarification. And I have 1 card here that's in reverse. I have the 5 of Swords in reverse. 1 more card, please, for clarification. 1 more card for clarification for the 8 of Wands. And we have the 7 of Swords. Okay. All right, so let's go to the World, the Wheel card here. Clarification, please, for guidance for the Wheel. Clarification for the Wheel for guidance. Sorry, it's not the World, it's the Wheel of Fortune. Sorry about that. So let's do 2 cards for the Wheel of Fortune. 2 cards, please, to clear from my Wheel of Fortune that we've... All right, we have the King of Swords is 1. And 1 more, please. Woo, there it is. Okay, so we have the Devil in reverse. Devil in reverse. All right. Let's start off with what's in your shadow coming up with the scarcity feel. That feeling of not enough. You know, just not enough of things around. And so sometimes you just settle for certain things. And so let's see where that comes from, because that can, you know, as Teal was saying, it can relate to money, it can relate to relationships, that whole thing of just feeling that there's not enough to go around. And let's see where that comes from in your shadow. So the first card that comes up is the 8 of Wands in reverse. And the 8 of Wands for me is a very creative card, very, very creative. And it's the 8, and it's just saying there's infinite possibilities. The 8 is like an infinity card. There's just infinite possibilities for you to be creative. If you're thinking of doing something else, if you're thinking of, maybe you're in that scarcity mode where you think that this job that you're in, you know, this is the only job I can find. This is the only job that, you know, I can do, that I'm able to do. This is a job that's bringing in the money, so there's no way I could do anything else at all. And you just don't see there being another option for you to be creative and do something else, because sometimes when we think about doing what we want to do, we just think there's no way I can make money from that. It just doesn't happen, right? And so this card upright would be saying, you know, take those creative wands and just throw them up in the air and just see what happens. Just see what happens. Like, imagine that you could do what you wanted to do right now, or you could have the partner you wanted to have, or, you know, it's this whole idea of freedom of getting to be you and doing what you want to do and getting to have what you want to have. But that is in your shadows very blocked. There is a resistance to believing that for some reason. And these are the kind of belief systems that we really need to get in touch with, that are coming up for us, because we have to start questioning these belief systems that are coming up. Like, you have a belief system that says, you know, you can't have a certain job for this reason, or you can't be creative for this reason, you can't be who you want to be. Creativity can be all about not necessarily writing a book or learning how to play an instrument, or, you know, it can be about living the life that you want to live. Like, that's a beautiful thing, right? And being creative about how you want to do that. But that is very much blocked, and that's what's coming up in your shadow right now. And let's look at why that's blocked. You see, because it's very blocked right now, because the Five of Swords is coming up, and the Five of Swords, fives are always a conflict card, but because there's a lot of conflict going on with this card, there's also change that can come from conflict. And the conflict that's going on here is, for the Five of Swords, it's about the card where, you know, you're in your head, first of all, because this is all about swords. You're in your head and you're looking at, this individual is very much thinking that he's got away with something. He has a real grimace, you know, on his face, thinking, ah ha ha, I won this. But when this card comes up for me, I always look at the people in the back, because this, I know the Light Seers deck really focuses on the individuals at the back, and that's who I focus. I don't focus on this person at the front. I look at those poor individuals that have just been beaten for some reason, that have, you know, I look at this card as maybe a bully, and, you know, these are the victims of the bully back here, and they're walking away. And when you have your head down, I know for me, whenever I've had to work through feelings of shame, I've always covered my face, I've found, when I'm working through that. So these individuals at the back are feeling a lot of shame. And so we've talked about your creativity being blocked, and, you know, you being able to, having the scarcity feeling of, you know, maybe you can't do something for some reason. And this card is blocked because I'm feeling like in your shadow there are emotions of shame. So shame for me is this emotion that every single one of us has, but no one wants to talk about shame because it's absolutely shitty. Starts with SH because another word, shitty, starts like that. And that's what it is. They're just shitty feelings. It's shitty feelings you have about yourself. It's the shame. And shame is not an emotion we're born with. It's something that people give us when we're younger. And because they shame us. And so we take on that shame. And this particular individual, and these individuals at the back, have all this shame. They're walking away from this conflict. And your shame is blocked in your shadow. And that's why your creativity is also blocked, and that belief system that you can go and do whatever you want to do. Because this is interesting that the Seven of Swords comes up right now. And look at this guy. This is the Thief card. This is this dude that's walking away with all these swords in his hand, thinking, look what I've got away, look what I'm walking away from. I've stolen these. But he's holding these. This is very dangerous because he's holding the sharp points in his hand, right? And this is very dangerous. These are the belief systems. This is this shitty shame right here that you've taken on. As you know, these are belief systems that it's like you've stolen these from other people, but you didn't steal them. This shame was never ever yours. These swords belong to someone else. This is these people from your childhood, adults, caretakers, your parents, sometimes teachers, will, because I was a teacher myself, and just, you know, adults in your life, coaches, sometimes they've shamed you. You know, and you've taken that on as what you own right here, right? And so this is what's coming up in your shadow right here. You have these belief systems that have caused you great shame that is blocking you from being who you really are and what you're meant to do. And, you know, there's infinite possibilities there. So what's the advice from the tarot? The first card is the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. The Wheel of Fortune is all about abundance and believing and believing that, you know, you can have good things. There's good things out there for you, and you can have a share of it, you know, like everyone else. But that's in reverse. So there's a resistance to you believing that. You're holding on to your scarcity. You're holding on to the fact that, you know, there's not enough to go around. And, oh, there's a lot to go around. There's infinite possibilities of this to go around. And the King of Swords comes out. I love the King of Swords because, you know, there's this masculine, very powerful energy. And that's what we're asked to be taken on, that says, you know, the masculine the swords is about authenticity and cutting to the truth. That's what the sword does. It just pierces the bullshit. And this King of Swords is coming out because it's saying to you to take on this energy of the King of Swords and says, you know what? Where do these bullshit belief systems, all this shame come out? Where does this come from? It's time for you to start to question. This is what he would do. He would start to question. You know, swords is about mental thoughts in your head. Where do these thoughts of less than, of scarcity come from in your life that's preventing you from being the person that you want to be? And, you know, the King of Swords wants you to cut through this bullshit right here, because the devil is the last card. And the devil is in reverse. Now, an upright card, the upright devil would say, I'll tell you what it'll say in a minute, but the fact that it's in reverse means that you really, really, really need to look at this. And I'm going to tell you what it is you need to look at, because the devil card for me is you've got to a point in your life where, I mean, look at these two individuals. They feel like they're chained. They're chained to their belief systems. They're chained to, let's say they've had this depression and it's just pulling them down, or the shame that's pulling them down, you know. You've become chained to this belief system that you are less than, that you are that you have all this shame and you know, these belief systems that people have given you. This has now become a burden, and it's become toxic in your system. And so that's what the tarot was saying, that it's time for you. It's time for you to look at that. You know what? There is abundance for you out there. There is abundance for you out there. And it's time to cut through the bullshit. It's time to start questioning. That's all it's saying here. Starting to question, where are these belief systems coming from? This stuff that says you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough. There's no abundance out there for you. You know, the World card came up for you right here. So it's time to start questioning your belief systems. Talk to you later.